Down in the Country podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Reed, and today we are joined by another up and coming country music artist, Stephen Cali. Stephen, thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, Dylan, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, man.
We're glad you're here. And just to get into the conversation, so you describe yourself as a genuine country boy and was raised around hardworking, humble, and blue collar people. And how has that helped shape your identity as an up and coming country music artist?
I think a little bit of what the genre is missing. I don't want to say that I can feel anything that it's missing, but I think it's important if you're going to tell stories and play real country music that you actually come from um, a place where you can understand that. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be from, the country or you have to act this way or act that way. But I think that songs that are genuinely country have to come from a place inside of you, and you had to have lived like that to get that experience and write about it.
Hmm. And was there a particular situation that made you realize like, hey, this situation, I want to be a country music artist?
So no, I never listened to anything but country growing up. My mom, well, that's not true actually. My mom played some Cat Stevens and she listened to like classic rock. My dad only listened to country. My brothers only listened to country music my entire life. So I didn't really grow up around anything but that country music. So when I decided to play music, started playing the guitar, started doing small shows in my local area, um, it was a no-brainer for me that I was going to play country. It's just what I grew up on. There wasn't even a second thought about it. There wasn't another option for me.
Awesome. And that leads into my next question quite nicely, actually. So that's How It Starts, which was released in 2024, and Girls and Whiskey, released in 2023. Went a little backwards, backwards there a little
No
bit,
worries.
but it demonstrates your ability to mix, I can like rock guitar with strong vocals. And could you provide an introduction for each of those songs?
Yeah, so excuse me real quick. Yeah, so Girls and Whiskey, I wrote. I was a co-writer around with my buddy Styles Horry and James Kelly, which you interviewed Styles. Like you said, that interview is going to be coming out. So um, when we wrote that song, I was going through some stuff in my life, and uh, you know, I was going through some breakup issues, things like that, just things that are hard on somebody. We got together, we got in the room, and that song came from a very genuine place. Styles and James are incredible writers; they really helped sculpt it, and yeah, that song means a lot to me. I think anybody that's going through a breakup is gonna resonate well with that song.
Awesome. And do you mind if we play a little clip of it?
No, I'd love it if you did.
Awesome. What? Just a face or here to stay. Hurts tomorrow or hurts today. But we both know it can't be undone. Never can quit, never just one. It's heavy on the heart, smooth going down. They both pick me up and lay me back like a ball and chain. They seem to fit me. Nothing gets me like girls and whiskey. So the first thing I will say is whoever did the cover art for this song did a badass job. So
So it's funny you say that. Styles' girlfriend Brianna, or not girlfriend. Holy cow! Wow, that's from like years ago. Styles' wife, who he has going on 3 children with, Brianna, did the album artwork for that. For that EP, she did a great job on it.
and just listening to that song when I first heard it, um, and and I think it's very important to kind of get the story out with like from the writing to the cutting process. So what was it like? You alluded to it a little bit earlier in the conversation, but what was that entire process like for this particular track?
So for Girls and Whiskey, we wrote the song um, over Zoom because it was kind of in that COVID setting where people were, we couldn't get together. So we wrote it over Zoom, and then you kind of pick from your, a list of songs. Like, okay, these are all the songs that I can put out that I can either cut, or songs that I've written that I can put out to the world, and you pick your best ones out of that list. And obviously, Girls and Whiskey made the cut.
Mhm.
And then you start developing tracks, building tracks. You go in, have the band record the music for the tracks, which Styles helped me on that as well. Really, like I said, really helped mold this song in a big way. And then you go in, you cut your vocals, you get that thing mastered, and you send it out and hope that people want to listen to it.
Yeah.
It's a long process. There's a lot of different steps, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Mhm. And did you, going into the recording studio to do vocals on this track, did you have like some sort of visualization in your mind of this is what I want it to sound like, this is the point I want to get across, or did you kind of really go in blind?
Yeah, I think you do that with every song. No, no, I try to do things with intentionality. So like I really wanted it to have a certain sound and come out a certain way, and me and Styles talked about it, like I said, and me and my team got together on it and just decided that we liked a certain direction for it. We stuck to that direction, and that's how we put it up.
Awesome. And were you listening at the time, because I know you were saying that you listened to country growing up. Were you listening to any particular artist or looking to kind of get inspiration from any particular singles when you were recording this?
I think we're always trying to do something a little different whenever we record, but some people that I pull a lot of ideas from, or I shouldn't say pull ideas from, but that give me inspiration is I love Riley Green, especially right now, like where I am 2024. I love Riley Green. I love what he's putting out. Um, I've always been a huge Justin Moore fan, huge Eric Church fan, huge. This is a name people probably don't know as much anymore, but Josh Thompson grew up on his records. Um, so that's whenever I'm in the booth, I'm trying to kind of do the best I can to encapsulate that sound.
Mhm. And does it, and this just out of curiosity, when you go into the booth and you record,
Mhm.
not just Girls and Whiskey, but when you just record tracks in general, are you like, this is how many takes I want to do, and then after that, then we really have to decide, or is it kind of like if one take doesn't work, we'll keep doing it until we get it right?
Oh no, you do it till it's right. And when I'm in the booth, it's very rarely right on the first, second, third, or fourth takes. So you really sing the song, and there's points where you'll break it down to an individual line. You have to sing this line correctly. So uh, being in the studio can be painful sometimes, but it's part of it, and being having people that are around you that make sure that you get the absolute best take that you can is the most important part of that for sure.
Yeah, it's like anything. You got to do it multiple times until
Oh yeah,
eventually you get it right.
that's right. Absolutely.
And the other track that I wanted to talk about, "That's How It Starts," which was released in 2024. Could
Yeah.
you provide an introduction for that song?
Yeah. So I didn't write that song. It was pitched to me by my buddy Styles. There's excellent writers on it. But as soon as I heard it, especially the position I'm in life right now. We're building a house. Things are kind of getting going, and just something about that song. The second I heard the word tape, I was like, I have to cut this song. I have to sing this song, and I still feel that way about it. Of all the songs that I've cut, it's at the top of my list. You know, Nobody really likes hearing their own voice or hearing their own song because you're picking yourself apart the whole time. But that one, the writers that were on it and the way that that song is written, I have a real special connection with. I love that song.
Hmm. And you mind if we play a clip of that track too as well?
I would love it.
Awesome. I still remember that cool September. sun waking up through the trees. Should've seen him smile when I dropped that book and fall. And that's how it starts. Yeah, fire gets burning out of control. You get in the blood, stays in your bones, makes you stay a whole lot. Chasing it with all your heart. That's how it starts. It was a rusted bumper, used like fixer up. Two-door help to bed. Bumps and hearts and beers, buddies and I love the beat to that song.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, everything about that song is awesome except for the singer. Everything else is awesome. The whole rest of the track.
I know I do love in the cover art here too as well, like the American flag T-shirt you're wearing in the back. Was this at a
Yeah,
show, by the way?
yeah, yep. That's a show we did here in New York.
Oh wow, awesome! Yeah,
Yeah, that was either I think we were playing with Warren Zider that night. We did a show with Warren Zider, and that's a picture from that show.
because I was gonna say it looked like a full house.
Yeah, it was pretty packed.
And I'm so you were saying you didn't write the song, but kind of what was the cutting process like for this song? Like, was it the same or was it different
Yeah,
from Girls and Whiskey?
it's the same process. It's just the only difference, obviously, when you didn't write it, is the writing part's not there, but it still gets put in, put in the list, like the list of songs you can cut, and you still have to decide, like, is this me? Does this represent, the things that I want to represent? And that song just does in every way. I mean, even if that song, some people might listen to that and not have one thing in it that they can connect to, but I do. I can connect with all of it. Sitting in a double stand with my dad, fixing up an old piece of crap truck that you got, chasing this stream of music down. I can connect with all those things, and I think there's enough people out there that can connect with it too. That I was tickled to be able to put that song out. I really was.
Yeah, and
So, but the process is essentially the same. It's the same all the way through. Trying to get it to sound right.
mm-hmm. and it was and it's so you mentioned previously, so you know that once you heard that sound you were like, I gotta cut this. But did you have, once you fell in love with the sound, did you have like a vision of this is what I want it to sound like?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of things changed about that track from the time that I heard it for the first time to what it is now. And we just talk about it as we go through. There's a lot of steel guitar in that track. There's a lot of things that give it a very 90s ish kind of sound, and that's super important to me. And having that little bit of flair on things, so that's stuff like that gets changed, but
Hmm.
the overall the concept and the way that song drives and all that was done by those writers, and they're the
Mm,
ones that I really should be thanking for that song. So
yeah. Well, and it's like, and I've said this on previous podcasts, but the older I've gotten, the more like appreciation you get, or I've gotten, for the process of just how things go from start to finish. Like a song, you have your lyrics, then you have to, layer tracks on, or tracks, or you have to layer instruments, and then you have to like put it all together. Like it's a just even one single, it's like an arduous process.
it's a process. It's months and months. It's months and months. Like these songs that so I put out, That's How It Starts. Um, in when I put it out, August I put that song out. I recorded it last November. It's like there's, like you said, they have to build the entire track from scratch. That's each instrument. That's multiple takes on each instrument, and then I got to go in there and sing it. Which, like I said, I'm a bonehead, so there's another 30 or 40 takes right there trying to get everything to sound right. Then the sound engineers and the people that are mixing the vocals have to do everything that they need to do, and then you toss it back and forth and make revisions. And by the time it's all said and done, there's a lot of people that have to say yes on a track, and it takes a long time to get that thing down the pipeline. That's for sure. But it should, I guess. If you want to put out the best stuff you can, that's how it should be.
And what is the average, from what you've seen, timeline of a track to go from start to finish?
I don't, I can only speak for myself. I don't know for some of the, some of the real big artists. They could probably turn stuff around a little faster. I don't know that for sure, but for me, normally it's about a year from the time I record it to the time it's actually out and people are hearing it.
Okay.
It's about a year.
Wow.
Sometimes a little longer, especially if I'm releasing multiple, like if I have an EP that's coming out
Yeah.
and I'm doing 3 singles, I'm going to release a single and then give that single a lot of time for people to listen to it and then release another single. So some of those songs could be a year and a half or longer until they're out.
Wow. And kind of continuing the conversation specifically on the musical aspect. So, just like us. So that was your title track and the name of your 2023 album. And
Yep.
what is the one thing you've learned about yourself, not just as an up and coming country music artist, but as a person when you made that album?
Well, when I actually made that album, I actually recorded that record in 2018. Um, some of the songs on that were already released in a different EP, but then we piled it with other songs, so it got re-released in 2023. But what I listen to, just like us, especially because it is one of my more popular songs, we play it every single live show. When I listen to that song specifically, I can hear in my voice how young I was. I can hear certain phrasing issues. Um, as an artist and as a person, um, a ton has changed since I recorded that song. A ton about the way I even handle myself in a booth now. There's so many things, but it's that early stuff, the first stuff that you put out is so good to keep up and for people to hear because it just shows the growth over the years. Hopefully I'm growing. I can't say that for sure. It's up to for people to decide. But hopefully over the years things are getting better and better and you can hear it from start to finish.
And do you mind if we play a clip of the title track?
No, I'd love to.
Yeah. Every state's got a whole lot of mad guys, a whole lot of people like me. And every big city's got a couple hillbillies with a spitter in the middle of a bench seat. Every town's got a local water hole where the people with the old blue collars go. Maybe burn a 40-hour paycheck. If you know, then you know. If you like a motor in the water sitting on the bank, blue eyes, blue eyes, cranking hay, dropping a hammer on a 12-point buck, sunrise clown hunting greenhead ducks, an old school ring, a pair of Levi jeans, hallway glasses on a sweet eyes jeans, 6-inch lips and 35s, kicking mud. They're just like us. I love the fishing rods in the cover art.
Yeah, that was done by a good buddy. He did all the artwork on that particular project. Uh, yeah, it's funny to even hear it. I obviously I don't. I try not to listen to my own music too much, but um, that would be kind of weird thing to do. But it's weird even hearing that because we do it so much different in our live show now and stuff. So, yeah, tons changed since we recorded that song. It's still one of my most popular songs, though. I love that song. People seem to like it. Um, so yeah, I'm real grateful for that song. Got the ball rolling.
I love the big drums at the beginning.
Yeah, the drummer on that track was an absolute animal too. Super technical guy. He did a great job.
Yeah, and it was and then your vocals kind of being layered over it. It actually sounded and I don't know if this was the sound you were going for at the time, a lot like Luke Bryan. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that before, but it's not like that very traditional sounding, very like, is that kind of what I understand you were kind of still in your, it sounded like your exploratory phase, but
Right.
is that kind of what you were aiming for?
So not in particular, but you are like the third person lately who said that, and I didn't, I didn't know that was a thing, but you're like the third person that said that. Um, no, I don't know if I even knew what I was going for at that point. You know what I mean? I don't even know if I had an idea what I wanted to sound like. I just was trying to make something that my buddies wanted to. That's really what I was doing then. It's just like I think my buddies will think this song is cool, you know, and that was like my main driving force, which is like funny to even say out loud now.
Yeah. And specifically with this song, did you have, um, when you were, writing to cutting it, what was that process like for Just Like Us?
Just like us. Well, I did that song with that was a 6 song. I think we did 6 songs when I did that. It was my first ever record that I was doing in Nashville. I was doing it with shout out to Kenny Royster. I was doing it with Kenny Royster, and it was I've never been more nervous, more stressed. Like for that record in particular, because I was so green, had no idea what I was doing, couldn't get my phrasing right, couldn't get a certain note right, couldn't I really just couldn't do a lot right. I spent an entire week in Nashville, and I remember one time I spent 8 hours on 2 songs.
Wow.
I spent like 4 or 5 hours on one song and the rest of the time on another one. But it was literally 8 hours for 2 songs. That's how like we were I was he was trying to show me how to do it right, and I just could. I mean, it was honestly, when I look back on that record, I laugh because it was brutal. I was terrible, but we got it together. Kenny's awesome, and we were able to get the project done. So that's a good thing.
Well, and I mean, listening to that track and then like, with listening to the clip with you, like you didn't sound nervous or stressed at all.
Well, I'm sure if you could have heard the very first take of it, it would have sounded a little different. But I probably sang that song 300 times that day.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. And, and specifically on that album too, in particular, Own Kind of Fix and then Till the Sun comes
Hmm.
up are also two tracks on that, are also two tracks on that album. Could you provide an introduction similarly to That's How It Starts and Girls and Whiskey, like an introduction to each of those songs?
Yeah, so On Kind of Fix and Till the Sun Comes Up. Till the Sun Comes Up was in that original 6 song group.
Hmm.
So it's part of my first ever project. Own Kind of Fix was actually a separate. Um, that was 2 other songs that I had cut a little later on. I think I cut those in like 2021. I think 2020 or 21. Um, but both of those songs, kind of have a similar vibe. They mean the same thing. They're close to the same thing as each other. It's just kind of a fun, loose. They're loose style songs. They're made for that summertime anthem type vibe. Um, yeah, I don't. We don't. It's so funny how far apart those 2 songs were and how similar they sound. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, but the Till the Sun Comes Up, I wrote with Styles. I actually went to his father's house, and he lived in Ohio at the time, and we spent a couple days writing that one. We were able to record it, put it out. It did well on YouTube, stuff like that. So that was actually my biggest song off my first batch of 6 songs. And then Own Kind of Fixed, I recorded, like I said, later on, and similar process. We built the tracks, went to the studio, um, cut the vocals, got them mixed, got them mastered, and put them out. And I thought that putting all that on the same record was a good move, and I still think it is. So
Awesome. And do you mind if we play a clip of Own Kind of Fix?
no, go right ahead.
Shades on the same song on Mountain Window Sunset. It's gonna be good times all night. Shotguns open, come and get in. Yeah, the world just don't stop spinning. Oh, we all got our own way to live in. Some it's just a kick back and unwind. Some like me
So no, I really love that. Really love that track. If I had to name a track on that particular on Just Like Us, I think Own Kind of Fix would be my favorite.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that song was actually written with Styles and his brother-in-law, and it was
Hmm.
like one of the first couple of songs that his brother-in-law had ever written. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. I don't know if I've even talked to him since, but um, it was like one of the first couple of songs that he ever wrote, and he got a cut on it. And it, I mean, like I said, I think lyrically, and this doesn't speak to obviously I think my music's got a long way to go, obviously, just like every artist. But I think that is one of the better songs on that record for sure. And it was pretty cool to write it with somebody, and he was pretty naturally talented right off the rip. It seemed like so.
And is Own Kind of Fix, um, you were saying that Just Like Us is one of your more popular songs, but his Own Kind of Fix, would you say it's also on that same platform too as well in terms of like
Yeah,
popularity?
it. I think that that one was I recorded it at a point where I didn't have enough buzz going on at the time, which not that I'm some kind of superstar now, but I didn't have enough buzz going on at the time to really get as many streams on that song as I think that I could have. And we're talking about maybe doing a re-release campaign on some of these songs that I think could have resonated with people a little more, because like For the Birds is on that record. That's one of my favorite songs that I've put out, and For the Birds didn't stream as nearly as well as some of my other songs. So we're gonna think about maybe re-releasing some of these songs and see if people resonate more with them now than they did.
Yeah. And specifically, kind of when you, with Own Kind of Fix, did you have like some sort of visualization kind of similar to Just Like Us and kind of the other tracks we've talked about? Like, hey, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to write about. This is how I want to record it in the studio. This is kind of, this is how I want my identity to be associated with this particular track. Was there any of that, or kind of was it?
Yeah, I think we just wanted to write one that day. I remember the write. The write was a ton of fun. We were laughing and joking the whole time, and it turned out, and it shows in the song because this song is just a fun song. I mean, it just the whole song was like, let go of it, go do
Mhm.
whatever you want to do, and it was like I said, you can hear the energy in the room when we wrote it in the track because we were all just having a good time. Weren't really putting too much pressure on the right. Weren't expecting anything. Like just writing a song, and it came out. It came out with the same tone as the right.
Oh, wow. And specifically too as well, you also sound a little bit rock and rollish in this song too as well.
Well, thanks, man.
I don't know if that was the genre you were looking to go for, but
Yeah, I don't. I just sing. I don't know. I just sing how I sing it. Sometimes it sounds real good, and sometimes it sounds real bad, and I just let it rip either way. So
yeah, no, I mean it's all about, you
I'm glad
know,
it worked out that time.
yeah, I mean I think we're like we have the tendency to be our own worst critics. So it's like what we think is bad, other people think is amazing. So it's really all about you don't know what people like. It's kind of like that old Steve Jobs marketing tactic he used to do with products. You never know what people are gonna want or like unless you put it in front of their faces.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I never thought I was somebody anybody would want to listen to, and it turns out people do. Some people do. I don't know what's wrong with me yet, but I'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing because of the internet now. It's like you have so many more options to listen to up and coming artists. You don't really have to go to the record store like in my day it used to be midnight releases of albums or books, and you would have to wait in line. I'm like, why are we doing that? We can just wait on at midnight on Spotify, and then the album drops or a single drops. Like you don't. There's just so many more opportunities to learn and
There's
listen more.
absolutely it's changed the entire game for an artist. Like it's made, I can't my life is here in New York. I work in Nashville, but my life is here in New York. I travel all over the place. But for somebody who is in my position, you know, 10, 15 years ago, this wouldn't have been an option to be able to put music out on a global platform and be able, this stuff wasn't even, now everybody can do it. And
Yeah.
it does a lot for artists. It does a lot for um, the freedom to be able to get your music out to people and not have to be under a specific set of circumstances before you can do it.
It's like I remember when iTunes first came out, and it was like 99 cents a song, and then it was like I think a dollar
I remember
nine,
that.
and then it was like $1.19, and then do you remember like people used to go to like I never did this, but people used to go to like LimeWire and try and like get the you
Oh
know
yeah, yeah, and you
underground
did
music.
it. You did it. Don't lie to me, man. Don't gotta lie. We all did it.
But yeah, now it's like we don't have to do that anymore because we have Spotify or
Yeah,
Apple Music.
I remember burning CDs, and I had this CD. It had a Dirk Bentley song on it that I wanted to hear so bad. It was off his new record at the time, which was called "Long Trip Alone." Do you remember that record?
I do not.
Okay, so it was one of his kind of record that didn't do so well, but I freaking love that record. Anyway, and my brother's girlfriend, who is now his wife of like 8 million years, uh, wrote a big heart on it, and I'll never forget. It was like "Love You Always," Amanda, my brother's girlfriend. And I snagged that freaking CD because it had so many different songs and I wanted to. My brother came in my room. Where's my burnt CD? I know you have it. I hid that thing for weeks. I was listening to that CD.
Well, the question is, do you still have that?
No, he did end up finding it, and I do believe that uh I don't think he was very happy when he did find out that I had it. But I think he knew the whole time at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Now, I just remember when you burned a CD with song. Maybe it was just the CDs I had and listened to, but the song sounded awful. Like you
yeah, oh
could
yeah.
totally tell it was
Oh my
burned.
god. Yeah, terrible. Oh, terrible. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like,
But what were we gonna do? It was
yeah.
just that's what you did.
I mean, you didn't have Spotify. You didn't have, you know, you really at the end of the day, you either burned the CD or you actually went to go buy the actual album.
Yeah. And it depended on who was going to take you to Walmart or wherever you were going to grab. It's like it was a
Yeah,
wild. There's definitely I remember it, but now it's awesome to have the availability for the artist to be able to put it out on platform, and that stuff was all fun though. I do remember that.
yeah,
I lived it through a little bit of it.
yeah. Well, I mean, thanks to the internet, I mean, to be honest, I had no idea who you were until Spotify.
Awesome,
So,
man. Well, that's it right there. That it's such a powerful tool. It really
and
is.
yeah, and it's like, because of Spotify, we're having this conversation, and it's like, you know, probably 10 to 15 years ago, like you would have to call, be like, hey, do you know of any up and coming artists from Nashville or who are working in Nashville? And then it was just, I can't imagine how inefficient it would have been 10 to 15.
And then any artist that wasn't at the top of their head didn't get to do this. You know what I mean? So it was like there was a blockade for the artist and for the person who would have been doing an interview, or there's no podcast then obviously, but somebody was trying to interview someone. There was like two blockades. Like you had to get through two things to try and do what we're doing right now with very limited amount of communication from either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's definitely a powerful tool.
no, it is. And it's just great because I think too, as well, kind of, and I understand the music, it's a business, you're trying to get records sold, you're trying to get streams. But I think what tends to get lost a lot of the time is, hey, there's a person behind that music. There's a process for each of these songs and singles and albums. And I just think that part or that portion tends to get left out. And I think it's important to bring that to the surface too, as well, because at the end of the day, we both go to bed, we both get up, we both, do activities that we need to get done. And, at the end of the day, we're just people. So,
Yeah, and I think that is something I've thought about that a lot. Where like I've had a daughter since I was 18. I've always had a full-time job and been doing music. I work 7 days a week, you know, a lot of hours every week. I don't even want to put a number on it. And I think about how many people are doing that exact same thing. And because I always think like, man, if somebody knew how bad I wanted it, like if they could get inside my head and they knew how bad I wanted to chase this dream down, I would have a record deal in, 10 minutes because they would just know how bad I want it. But I think the reality is everybody who's doing this wants it that bad. Like everybody wants it so bad, but it's just like who is willing to put aside, the most stuff to do it. And there's all kinds of different factors, but I if I had to say anything about artists in general or the artists I've met at least, they're just people who want it so freaking bad, and they're just trying to find something that'll connect with people.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
to go to your point, that's just I think there's so many guys trying to do it, and there's so many guys that want it so bad. And if you come across a new artist that you like a song, listen to their other stuff. You know what I mean? Put
Mhm.
them on your Spotify, become a monthly listener, like all that stuff. If you really want to help somebody, that's the stuff that matters. Become a monthly listener. Listen to their songs, the ones that you like. And, you know, a couple of clicks of a button goes a long way. Following somebody, liking their stuff, it goes a long way for artists.
Yeah. And it's, what I do love about in the Spotify app now is that if you follow an artist or if Spotify notices you're following a similar genre, they're like, oh, like you should listen to this album or you should listen to this artist. So it's a great way for you to like learn and kind of, you know, see things and kind of really get to see what is out there. And I do, I do love to track kind of when albums are going to be released from other artists. And sometimes I do forget, and that little tool in Spotify actually helps me, like, oh, don't forget to listen to this album. So,
Exactly. Right. Yep.
so
Yep.
that's actually how I found out that Luke Bryan actually released. He's one of my favorites. Released his latest album. So
Yeah, it rips too. I listened to a bunch of songs on it. That record rips.
yeah, and it's also a really good album that was released a little bit before that was Brantley Gilbert's new album too as well. That's a really good one.
I haven't heard it yet, but now I'm going to check it out. I love
Yeah,
Brantley Gilbert too.
yeah, I love his stuff. I just love kind of that type of like, and I posted it about it on Instagram. It's like he's very raw, but he's also very honest in his music, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, you can
Um,
feel it.
yeah, no, you
People
can't.
know when you're lying. People know when you're lying to them. They
Mhm,
really do. And what they don't, I don't think sometimes if you're being disingenuous in a song or something, I don't think they know that that's what's going on. They just go, I don't like it. And I'm sure, I'm positive I've put out songs that people get that feeling from where they listen to it and go, I don't know. And I think it's because they can tell maybe I don't believe it or they just don't believe it um, but there's certain artists that just do that so well. Eric Church, everything he writes is real. Brantley Gilbert, there's just certain guys that make it all real.
mhm.
You know,
No, definitely, and it's like
Styles. When you listen to something Styles sings, you can like you're like he means it.
yeah. hmm I like,
So
and I love one of his songs that I really love is actually it's two. Um, Ain't Done Yet is really one that I really love.
song rips. Yeah,
And then
absolutely rips.
No Truck, No Beer, No Girl. That's my
Yep.
that's my favorite. So
Did he tell you the story behind that one?
I can't recall, but enlighten me.
Oh well, I don't know if I should, but it's that's a great song. That's what I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I actually listen to that when I go exercise because I think it's a great like getting in the zone song too as well.
Yep. Go check out that one. Check out Country Kids Do too by him if you haven't heard that one. That song rips too. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
no, and didn't mean to get off too much of a tangent, but like the other
Oh
track that I really wanted to talk about was Till the Sun Comes Up. So
yeah.
you mind if we play
That's
it?
got yeah, play it. Yeah, absolutely.
town knows that you left turns off Shortcut Road, where the fishing's good and the good times roll, and the drinks are always cold. Yeah, we live wild, we live free. No AC, just a southwest breeze and a boat. Yeah, you know. We got engines floating in the hot sun, like red and white flowers on a farm pond. And all the pretty girls getting ready, buzz rolling in nice and steady. Gonna mix us up, some fix us up, climbing salt on the edge of our cups. We're down to party till the sun comes up. Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know, like when I, listening to that clip, I'm like, what I visualize is I'm on the beach smoking a cigar in Florida.
That's kind of what we were going for. It's funny to hear, man. Like I said, it sounds young when I listen to it. It sounds so young. But no, that song we wrote. My buddy, one of my best friends in the whole world, Travis, always gives me a little grief for that song because there's actually a fishing spot off Shortcut Road in my town that I live in, and he's always like, "Why do you got to say that, man?" Like, I'm giving away the vision spot, kind of. I'm like, nobody knows, but he always gives me some shit about it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we put that one out with that first group of songs around 2018. Me and Styles wrote it, and some guys from Adair's Run. There were some great writers on that song, actually. Yeah, like I said, one of them old ones. I can hear how young I sound for sure.
Yeah, no, I love kind of the island sound when you first start, and then it becomes much more country. I really like that transition.
Yeah, it's one of the only it's one of those the only ones that I have with that vibe. Probably ever will have. I'm not really actually, to be honest with you, I'm not really a big beach guy, but I wanted to have one.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have one. And Styles is awesome at writing stuff like that. So like I said, we wrote it together. It ended up working out.
Awesome. And changing gears a little bit from the music to your hometown. So you come from a one light town in upstate New York. And just out of curiosity, what do you want people to know about your town through your music? And what have you experienced about life specifically up to this point?
I haven't written a song that I think actually says everything that I want to about this town. I haven't done it yet. I will. But I grew up the way that, like, you see it in movies, like the way that everybody wants to get away from. But I've always loved it here. It's a farm town. I graduated with 62 people that I went to school with my entire life, on the same road, on the same bus, in the same. So it's like, I don't really know. If I knew how to describe what this town meant to me, I would have done it in a song by now. And I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. But having my kids grow up in it and building our new house in it, and knowing that I'm probably going to get buried here one day, is, I mean it. It's important, and I mean it. So,
yeah,
like, as we speak right now, I just looked over. This is how country I am, okay? Or how country where we live is, I should say, not how country I am. But there's about a 6-inch grass snake that has made his way into the office in our basement, and he's sitting here looking at me right now.
Wow.
I just noticed him. Give me 1 second. So this has got to be a podcast first. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know how he got in here. He must have come under the garage door when it was open or something. But he is in the office downstairs right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, interesting. Anyway.
Yeah. You don't see those. You don't see those too much.
No, not every day.
No. And well, specifically where I'm in a city, so it's like snakes, frogs. What are you talking about? Like, but yeah. And so you've played 800 shows in over 14 states. and your 2023 EP Nights to Burn has over 500,000 streams. I just want to say congratulations on that. That's a huge milestone. Um,
Thank you so
and
much, man.
and how do you stay grounded and remember your blue collar roots while you are, you know, building your identity as a country music artist, and then kind of seeing, the over 500,000 streams for your 2023 EP Nights to Burn?
It's pretty easy to stay grounded because I have everybody around me is crushing. You know, you look at Styles, you look at people in my camp, everybody's doing well. But also, um, I just don't. I go to work every day. Even if like you go off to a show and there's people that are screaming and hollering, want to talk to you, stuff like that. The next day I get up and on Monday I go to work at 5:30 in the morning. So it's like I don't even have any choice but to be humble. I'm not even in the position to not be humble still. You know what I mean? It's like to be grounded because I haven't done anything that um, I haven't done anything extraordinary yet. And even if I did, I don't know. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I don't give it that much thought, to be honest. I really try not to think about it. Everybody who knows me knows I play music and I lay bricks. That's what I do. And I try
Yeah.
to keep it in my head. I keep it that exact way. 500,000 streams is awesome. It means a lot that people love what we're putting out and wanted to listen to it that much. But I'm just going to keep doing exactly what I've been doing. And I really don't, I try not to give it much thought.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Well, and
just keep working, keep going forward.
yeah, and I mean, it's like, with this podcast. So, um, I'm trying to build up my songwriting skills, and that's a beast within itself. Kind of like, oh, does this work? Does this? You just don't have time to be arrogant, really. It's like, my mentality has always been,
No, yeah,
yeah, it's like,
yeah. Well, it's like somebody you look up and it's like, if I play a show and there's 4 or 5 thousand people at it, which we've done on several occasions, it's not like they're there for, they're not there for me. They're there for the guy. And it's like, how do I become that guy? That's got to always be the mentality. And if you do that, like, how do I become the guy that they are here to see? And when you're always doing that all the time, which I think most artists are, um, you don't, like you said, you don't even have time to become arrogant. If you start getting arrogant in the stage where I'm at right now, or getting kind of like that, this is where it ends. You know what I mean? So it's
mhm,
like you gotta keep going forward.
yeah, and
you
it's
know.
and but you bring up an interesting point because it's very easy to fall into that trap. Because your brain, like, once you think like, oh, I've accomplished something, like, you know why do I, what good is it going to do for me to listen to you? Then it all comes crashing down.
Right. Exactly. Well, that is when it comes crashing down because it's like, if you think that you're like somebody, even if you're Luke Combs and you're playing at an arena, like look what Garth Brooks did in New York City. Like there's always more to, and I think that most people that are in positions like Luke Combs and stuff already think like that. There's like I could always be doing more, and if when you always think you could be doing more, you don't have time to be like, man, I'm awesome. And
Mm,
I think that's just how I think that is how most artists are. I haven't really met anybody, especially in country music, even some of the guys that I've met that are, have done really well over the years.
mhm,
They've all been really cool. Everybody seems the same way, and I think that's kind of what it takes to get to that level almost.
mhm. No, definitely. And so you're an avid outdoorsman, specifically hunting and fishing. So I'm just curious, how do you feel about this upcoming season? And do you have any dream animals you want to hunt, or any dream catches and fishing?
I really want to hunt an elk really bad with a bow, and hopefully one of these days I get to do that. We did a show in Jackson Hole, Wyoming last year, and I got to go out and see out west and see the country and out there, and that's definitely on my bucket list. Um, yeah, an elk would be that's probably my biggest bucket list animal. But I love duck hunting. love goose hunting, love deer hunting, I trap. I run. I do a trap line every year. Um, Always out fishing. That's what I grew up on. I love hunting and fishing. It's really
Yeah.
other than music, like it goes my kids, like my list of priorities is like my kids and my family, my music, and then hunting and fishing. There's like not a lot in between. So
Yeah. You're a man that knows what he wants.
yeah, that's because I don't have too much going on upstairs. I'm just miserable.
Well, I got to ask about the fishing. Have you ever noodled before?
No, I've never noodled. It looks wicked gnarly. I don't know about that, man.
Yeah. Just
Freaking-
stick your hands in the water and see what comes out.
Yeah, I've done some definitely some redneck stuff, but crawling into a muddy river and sticking your arm in a hole in the bottom of a river, that's I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's right up there at the top.
Yeah. That I feel like that would test like someone's courage to like the max.
Yeah, it's not even about fishing. It's about like, am I sticking my hand in an alligator's mouth or in a snapping turtle's mouth, or like all I could see was me pulling out like a nub and being like, there it goes. You know?
I guess don't put your hand in that hole.
Yeah, exactly right, exactly.
Yeah. No, but
You know,
it's and it's just amazing to me, just kind of, just it's all about what one of the things I've learned the older I've gotten is like, yes, your work is important, but then kind of what you've been alluding to, there's life outside of that too as well. And I think it's always important to have kind of that balance.
yeah, and I think that there's like there's a weird shift that's happening, and it's so funny because I grew up in this town and everybody hunted, everybody fished, everybody did that. So I wasn't even aware that there was another way. I wasn't. Yeah, I specifically remember this. I didn't even know that people didn't hunt or didn't fish, and that some people didn't like it, and some people were against it. I didn't know there was like any controversy to it or anything. And when you grow up doing it that way, and it's so ingrained into you, and it's so a part of who you are as a person. Um, when you hear that some people don't enjoy it or that there's people that are against it, it makes you want to. I hunt like harder because of it. I want people to see what hunting can be. I want to share it with people because I know how much it means to me. And that's okay if it's not for everybody. I completely get it. Now that I'm older, I can completely understand why some people don't want to go out and hunt. Um, but I want to start sharing it with people and becoming more of a use some of this little tiny bit of a bubble that I have on social media to maybe get some of that out there, and that's something I might think about exploring.
Mm-hmm.
And putting some content out of hunting and fishing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a huge part of who this family is. I'll tell you that right now. So,
Do you have any heads mounted on your house?
I have a couple Euro mounts upstairs. There's a coyote. Um, Over there, and there's a few out in the other side of my basement that I trapped. And I have one coming back. I shot a really nice buck last year here in New York. That's on the way back, and one in Tennessee that's on its way back. So, none down here though. None that I can show you right now. So, yeah.
Keeping yourself busy then.
Yeah, I say this is our office or the office, but really, this is my girlfriend's office where she does all her work because the work that I do does not require any brains or an office. Yeah.
Awesome. And Stephen, are there any upcoming shows, EPs, albums, writers rounds that you want people to know about?
So actually, we just came off a super busy summer tour. We're kind of on our break. We all go hunting. That's part of the reason we're not playing shows right now. So any huge upcoming shows, not off the top of my head, but I would go to my Facebook event section, Stephen Kelly Music on all social media platforms. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it. Stephen Kelly Music. And check that event section. It's constantly being updated. And in the summer months, we do have. Normally, we're blessed with a lot of shows to play and for people to come out and
Awesome.
see.
And awesome. And be sure to subscribe to Down in the Country podcast on YouTube, as well as listen to the audio version of this interview
subscribe
on
right there.
Yep, subscribe. And then listen to the audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Steven, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It was good meeting you.
Same here. This is Dylan Reed signing